What is up, guys? This is Olympio coming at you with a discussion video on what do you think is one of the most underrated decks out there. Now, there are so many decks around, which means that rogue decks can come up in competitions that you just don't expect, and they can catch you completely off guard for multiple reasons. One, you haven't seen it before, so you don't know how the combos work, and you don't know what the pinnacle key cards are in the deck. Two, you just haven't sided for it because you didn't expect it at the event. Or three, just, as I said, completely catches you off guard and you just did not expect it. And because you haven't played it against it for so long, you just misplay. So I want to kind of discuss a little bit on what some of the most underrated decks could be that you could go up against that could give you a real headache. What do I mean by underrated? I just mean decks that people think can't stand up to the challenge because they overlook it, but it can. So I'm looking at those tier 2 and tier 2.53 decks mainly, because they're the rogue decks. Anything underneath that isn't meant to be viable. So even if you go up against it, you don't know what it does, you should still have a strong enough deck to beat it. But those tier 2 and tier 3 decks are still, they still pack a punch. And I play some tier 2 decks, and they do pack a punch, and there's a reason why I play them, not just because I like them. So some decks that I'm just going to list off the top of my head now that can be considered rogue decks. So we have Dark World. Dark World do have a strong showing, but they aren't a tier 1 deck. They are very much a tier 1.52 deck. And that is in my personal opinion, but let's face it, they don't have a lot of tops, and they normally only pop up around starter formats, because it's a good safe bet to go with, because they hardly ever get touched. They can main deck Skill Drain, which is always such a painful card for a lot of meta decks, and they have a recurring 2/7 3k beat stick that just comes out and smashes you in the face. They also have access to the viruses, which are just very devastating on their own. So a deck that can main Skill Drain and main the viruses is always going to be a tough one. Gladiator Beasts is another one. That's one that a lot of people kind of forget about and forget how they work. Going up against it is a very tough one, and a lot of people don't really have much side for Gladiator Beasts because you don't really expect them. So that's always one to keep an eye out. That's a very difficult deck to play against at times. I always struggle because I'm just like, oh, I just cannot remember how to play against this deck. And it's just because I haven't really thought about it or played against them that much, because it's been a very long time since I played against Glad Beasts. Whenever I go up against them, I'm just like, oh, for God's sake. Other ones are Herald of Perfection. Herald of Perfection is one that pops up every so often, and if you aren't equipped and ready to go against that deck, you're going to be in trouble, because the negation power is so good, and the fact that we have Christia, and you go up against things like different variants. You can go up against like the Spirit variant and also the Agent variant are the two that you will probably see more. Is they will power down on you so much that you just don't even realise it, so you need to be very clever and side pretty heavy for those. Hunters are another. Hunters do have a good showing, and the fact they can just explode onto the field very quickly with a lot of very good XYZs, and they do have a lot of good back row as well. They can catch you off guard, and they can side in a hell of a lot of tech cards as well against the meta. Things like you can they can have the 7 tools of the bandits to catch you off guard. They can also have the trap stuns. And Messenger of Peace as well is another one that catches a lot of people off guard, because they can happily sit there and start poking you, or just build their resources, drop their seahorses under the Messenger of Peace just to stop you from doing anything. Another one that I always laugh at when I see it is Battle in Boxers. Battle in Boxers are certainly an interesting deck and are very much a one-trick pony. Yes, they are a rank 4 engine, but with Lee Joke, that card can just win games on its own because people just can't get around the destruction effect. And they can very quickly summon 2 or even 3 of them. And when you have that, you are in trouble unless you can get rid of them. It's become easier now with Exeter Knight because you can kind of pop. And also with 101 that you just take it. They're not that much of a problem deck, but they are very underrated in what they can do. And they will catch a lot of people off guard. Zombies is another one you can say. Zombies can explode so very quickly against decks. Their powerful graveyard control and special summoning aspects just make it so brutal to go up against them. And they also have Beezles and Dad and Blackluster Soldier, Chaos Sorcerer. They have so many boss monsters that they can have access to. And it just means that you go up against this deck and they will brute force punch you down very quickly if you do not counter them. And the last one that I'm just going to talk about is one that will always catch people off guard, because it's a very anti-meta deck, and that is TGs. TG Stun, as it's normally called, is one deck that is a very difficult deck to play against if you have a very heavy monster effect deck. And what do I mean by that? I mean, for example, like Bujins. Bujins, if you flip Skill Drain against them, you don't get the Yamato effect. You don't get any of these effects that you desperately need to get the ball rolling. And TGs can happily work against that. They have the creature swap version of a trap. They can also play creature swap. Loads of different tech cards that they can main. And they can synchro up quite quickly into Beast and Barkian as well, which are devastating cards to go up against if you're not ready and you don't have a setup against it. So TGs are a very, very underrated deck in my opinion. They do come up every so often. They do main skill drain like Dark World. So that is it, guys. I want to know what you guys think about the underrated decks. I realise that I have missed out some. I haven't mentioned every underrated deck ever because I'd be here for hours and I don't want to do that. I've just mentioned my notable ones. So let me know down in the comment section below which are yours. Like, comment, subscribe, and I shall catch you guys later.